Today on the Crunch Week Year in Review, we're talking about hacks everywhere, the rise of the mega unicorn, and with great power comes great responsibility. Hey there, I'm Colleen Taylor.
I'm Ryan Lawler.
And I'm Alex.
And what a year it's been.
It's been a long-ass year.
It's been a crazy, crazy year. You know, looking back over all of the stuff that has happened, it's like, I can't believe it all happened in 2014.
I know, we were looking back, and to start, the first thing we're going to talk about is all of the hacks that have happened this year. And obviously fresh on all of our minds, I think, is the Sony hack that just happened over the past few weeks.
But that's only really kind of the capstone on a year everyone getting hacked. Starting with, I think it was Target earlier this year, then it was Home Depot, and it's been really a mess across the entire cybersecurity landscape. It's been kind of a fiasco from January through December.
And there's been lots of different types of hacks, right? You have the credit card hacks, which I think we almost kind of expect nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't had your identity stolen like this year, it'll probably happen next year.
I'm just saying
but in addition to that, there's the Sony hack. There are corporate hacks that are becoming more commonplace, and there's like more personal hacks,
like the
fappening
and the
snapping, where people's not just like their credit card or financial information, but personal photos and things that they typically think of as private getting out into the wilderness.
Does this kind of underscore the idea that if you put it online in any capacity, it's no longer private? Because that terrifies me, because I've written emails since I was like 8, and if those were all released, I would be in some serious shit. Like,
yeah.
I guarantee I said dumb things in my life.
Yeah.
Like really dumb shit.
Well, this is the thing where like you look over the Sony emails, right? And we tend to think of, our email as private conversation, but it's not anymore. And I know that I personally, after seeing the Sony hack, went through my corporate email and did search for select keywords to find out, like, if anyone really wanted to like try to nail me for like saying something racy or whatever, like if
racy or racist, there's difference.
Racy.
There. Okay.
If they could. Through my AOL email.
Yeah, I think it's just that there's so much more data out there, because hacks are nothing really new. I mean, if you've had a credit card for the past 10 years, at some point, the bank would send you a new credit card because some merchant that you went to is compromised. Those kind of things have been happening for a long time. Hackers have been breaking into things and, selling the data, selling the credit card numbers and the personal identity numbers,
and
through back channel things.
Yeah.
But nowadays, though, we have all of this other more interesting data, like, certain types of pictures on our phones, or emails where we're gossiping about people, and that kind of stuff is now becoming the target because there's just more of it.
Well, one venture capitalist that I talked to, or did talk to on a regular basis via Twitter DM, sent me a DM. He's like, I don't talk about this anymore in written word.
Yep.
He said, nope, you can call me.
Yeah.
Just done, cashed out, just walked away.
I think that's going to be fun. I think
that's going to be, the new norm. And we're going back to Stone Age technology called landlines, essentially, to have communication, because this will get leaked.
Yeah.
And that's not good for privacy, freedom of thought. I mean, it's really bad the whole way down.
Right. But this is kind of a thing that's been happening for a long time. So, it's only been this like sort of 10-year period where we've all been, IMing and emailing rather than, picking up the phone and talking or meeting in person and stuff. So we're just going to, maybe we'll tell our children one day, like, we used to do all this stuff online, and they'll say, well, how stupid were you to put all of that online?
Well, I wonder, because once we have better encryption that we control on a personal basis, won't that grant us actual control of our privacy? I feel like we built up like technology really quickly, didn't secure it, and then it became compromised. Now we're like, oh shit, that didn't work. But once we actually have encryption on, say, Gmail or GChat or whatever that we can control on our level, that the company can't get past because we have the keys, won't that grant us the ability to actually go back to our earlier norms when we had, functional email that was secure that we then can control?
Right.
I hope that's the case.
I think that, in that, responding to that though, I think it's going to be really tough to move everyone over to like some level of encryption. And like getting people, it has to be like ultra easy. Like once Gmail becomes encrypted and secure, like then maybe people will use it. but it has to be drop dead simple. Like there's no like sharing of PGP keys and shit like that. Like people won't
No
do
more
that.
handshakes. Like, I mean, but once you do that, though, whatever company builds that platform and makes it mass market will be worth $1 quadrillion.
Yeah.
Like, if you can actually bring a functional encryption to the mass market, you win.
Yeah.
And if Google can't do it, and they're working on this right now, so it's Microsoft, so is Apple, if you can't do that, then I think you'll fall behind and lose any preeminence you had in that space. Because if you offer to me communications on any sort of platform that are completely secure from the company, the government, and hackers, I will give you my money. I'll sell you Ryan.
I think the one final point about this though is that so much error, and we see this like in phishing scams. We saw this with the fappening, the big iCloud leak, and all of that. Is that so much of this like just comes down to human error. You can have the best encryption in the world, but if someone phishes your password away from you, like it doesn't matter. You know, they're going to get into your account.
But it's harder to think a password you might use across 8 different sites in a PGP key or an encryption key that you have stored. I don't know. I agree, but we should be able to solve that via technology. If we can't solve that via tech, then we're not working hard enough on actually finding real solutions.
Okay, so speaking of the encryption company being the potentially big money thing of 2015 and beyond, this year we saw some of the biggest money that we've ever seen, really, in technology.
I didn't see any of that money, like personally.
Why is your mug so big compared to Colin's mug? Where did the money go, Ryan?
We saw it from afar. We could, you know, from the peanut gallery. But some of the biggest numbers, I mean, WhatsApp being bought for $17 billion.
19?
You know, Uber's new valuation being 40 billion.
40 billion.
Something
Xiaomi
like this.
is $45 billion.
Twitter's worth 26.
Yeah, based on their most recent raise. Yeah, huge money. What's it mean, Alex?
It means lots of things. No, I mean, we've seen a stupid year. I mean, companies used to go public way earlier, and they had to be profitable. If you go back and read the original Microsoft S1, which I did this last weekend, they raised a total of $50 million in their IPO, and they were worth like, I don't know, 500, whatever. Not $40 billion. People are now so willing to give these companies these mega rounds that are private because they expect future returns down the road when they do go public, but they're willing to wait and literally hang out and be in the pocket for longer periods of time because there is so much bored capital out there looking for any sort of return that's not the treasury rate, essentially.
Right.
They're willing to just hose money in.
Yeah.
And given that equities in the public market are so overpriced right now, we're seeing all-time highs for the Dow, nearly all-time highs for the NASDAQ. I mean, there's not a lot of upside there, so people just pour money into, you know, Uber and Xiaomi, and like, I wonder where they'll be in 3 or 4 years because, you know, if you buy into Uber at the current valuation, you're saying, I think it's worth 1.5 Twitters.
Well, the private market is really the new public market. The upside used to be in the public market. Now, you know, we're seeing these rounds that people are cashing out, and there are secondary offerings and all of these things all happening in the private market. So
Was
in a lot
that
of ways,
a
the
subtweet
upside
of Secret? Am I making fun of Secret? Because I'm kind of thinking making fun of Secret right now.
Well, it could be Secret, but it could be any of these companies. It could also be Uber. You know, although Travis Kalanick has said that he hasn't sold any of his personal stock in Uber yet. But I just think that especially for the investors as well, they're selling these things to these new institutional shareholders. They're not getting as much of a return maybe in the public market. The big payout is happening in the Series C, Series D, Series E.
Well, we've seen some good IPOs that have had good pops. I mean, Ryan, you covered TPG pretty carefully. So what do you see on that side of the market?
Well, I mean, I think basically, you know, all these guys are, like, to your point, they're basically betting on, like, making that, like, 2x or even, like, 1.5x return. Like, if you look at all the big hedge funds or whatever jumping into the private market, like, the opportunities really aren't huge like they used to be, I don't think.
But that's a return up to IPO, but post-IPO the stock could go up further, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
they're
but we
making a longer
haven't
term
seen that
bet.
as much, not in the same way that we saw Google stock go up from the time it went public. We can't see the public market investors aren't going to be able to make
This
as
makes me
much
furious.
money on these technology companies as the private market investors are.
Have you read the Google S1?
Yes.
They were so fracking profitable. They were
Right.
all the numbers were like, wee.
Right, but Amazon as well. Like these companies
Amazon was
that
the
weren't
opposite.
even, exactly, the companies that even weren't profitable. I mean, the public market could participate in the growth of these
That's
internet
true, that's
companies.
true.
Guys, let's get back to
Right.
the other side of the exit. Let's forget about IPOs, right? You've got all these multi-billion-dollar acquisitions that have happened over the past year. You had WhatsApp, you had Nest, you had Oculus, you had
There was another one.
There was another one.
WhatsApp?
No, no, we
coming
went
back
over
to
that one.
WhatsApp.
The point is there's been 4 or 5 multi-billion-dollar acquisitions this year inside of tech, which have been kind of landmark or goalpost moments throughout the year.
Right, right.
Which have been, I think, changing the entire market's dynamic. It's had more froth to the lower end, but the higher end is doing that well.
Right. And we're seeing, that say, as you mentioned, Secret, these companies that are so fresh and so early and get a little bit of a pop, get $30 million of funding. Or Yo, which was sort of like this flash in a pan thing, then got some serious, millions of dollars in venture capital. Yik Yak.
Isn't that actually a thing, though? Secret was never a thing. Yo was never a thing. Isn't that actually a thing?
Yik Yak was actually a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yik Yak actually has momentum and people using
When
it.
you talk to investors, though, I sit down with them and I'm like, here, have a beer. All right. And I'm like, what the fuck does this mean? Like, Secret. And they're like, well, people are just unicorn hunting.
Yep.
And, I kind of giggle because it's just not smart. If you're just throwing darts, why are you there in that job at all? Just have a random dart generator.
Right. Yeah, the money is there, though, and these things,
But will the money
last? That is a good question. We will find out next year, I suppose. But as of now, we're sort of at a peak. In the meantime, we have a third topic to discuss.
Which is, once you have all that money, then people start to scrutinize you a little bit more. And with great power comes great responsibility. And I think that we're seeing this a lot more with, what we think of as like the technology industry's darlings, basically facing, more scrutiny from regulators, facing more scrutiny just from like regular people for, sometimes it's shady business practices. Most of the time it's just like saying stupid shit.
It's interesting because these are the same people that they've always been. And I can't imagine that their comments are any more fury-inducing now than what they used to be. I'm sure that when, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were ascending in the industry, they said some things, but for so long, these people have only gotten adulation. The tech industry was almost the underdog, and we wanted to look up to these people and think that they're, smart and visionary, and Paul Graham's essays have been read and shared and beloved for so long, and then all of a sudden, over these past couple of years, when it just seems like these guys were getting so big, some of the stuff that they're saying has been, exposed to a wider audience of people who are saying
Tech hasn't been the underdog since 1997. We've had all the money for 20 years.
Right, but I think up until this point, or up until the last few years, we haven't really thought of the tech companies as like the new like masters of the universe.
Right.
It was always like big oil or like finance or
bankers.
like
just because tech is bad at politics doesn't mean we haven't been masters of the universe for a long time.
Well, I think that people are finally starting to realize that, but they got the benefit of the doubt by having the perception that they were the underdogs.
Okay.
I didn't say that they actually were the underdogs. Apple has been the biggest company here for a very long time, but nothing that any of these guys said, in the 90s or throughout the 2000s was really criticized in the same way that we're seeing it over the past couple of years. I think things go viral really quickly through social media. The outrage machine kind of like churns up, a lot of times justified. Sometimes it gets a little out of hand, in my opinion. But
is that due to the rise of social media, because tech companies are now bigger and more wealthy, or because we just now care more? Like, what's driving this increased outrage engine? Or are people just saying stupider shit? Like, Travis Kalanick is a gaffed machine.
I don't think that
he
people
makes
are
Joe
saying
Biden
stupider
look
shit.
disciplined.
No,
I
think it's it's a few different things. It's a confluence of all those things. I think part of it is just that now more than ever private lives are public lives. Through social media and whatever else. Yeah. I think also when people look at the fact that Uber is a $40 billion company now, like we expect their executives like to act in like a better way than they are, or be smarter about the things that they're saying at least than they are sometimes. I think it's just kind of like people don't really understand what Silicon Valley is about. And so anytime you have a lot of money like in a place, it's easy to demonize that thing if you're not a part of it.
Strictly because of the amount of money? Is that the driving factor?
Yeah, and I think that things are getting more political. I mean, it's not a new world that we're in. Politics have been this way for a long time. It's all about the soundbite. It's all about the gaffe. It's all about the gotcha moment, and that's making its way to everywhere. It's
And
making
by the
its
way,
way to
that's our
entertainment.
job. Yeah.
It's making its way to entertainment. You know, Hollywood stars and directors and producers can't say the same things that maybe they used to say.
Because their emails would get-
or even on stage at an event or
that.
something. People can't say these things, you know, and this is the kind of scrutiny that politicians have been under for a long time. And now it's everyone in the public eye is kind of under the same thing. Satya Nadella, you know, in a very thoughtful sit down at the Grace Hopper conference, in a thoughtful sit down said, you know, in so many words, the way that he got ahead was by kind of not asking for raises all the time, and this got kind of spun into women should never ask for raises.
Well, he said that.
Well, he said that the reason that women are anyway, it was kind of complicated.
No, it was flagrantly bad.
Yeah.
Like that,
Okay,
that
yeah.
was him, foot all the way down his throat. Like,
Do you really think that he really believes that
No, I
women
know.
should never?
He's not sexist,
exactly.
but he
So
said
these
dumb
things-
shit.
He said something that was dumb and not, you know, perfectly soundbite ready, and it got spun, and he has felt the effects of it. I think that we're seeing these things, you know, happen over the past year, and it's going to be sad, though. I think if people just have to. I don't want to see people in every industry, prominent people, become just like politicians who are just,
Where
you
they
know,
can't say
slick and
anything.
totally neutered and can't say anything that they mean. This is why we love people like Elon Musk, and this is why we've loved, you know, historically these people who kind of speak their minds
Yeah.
in technology and in these other places. But now people are going to be so afraid that they're not even going to talk at all, or when they do talk, it's going to be so couched and neutral. And I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant point. I don't see a way out of it though.
Yeah.
Just given the amplification of social media and the fact that you now see one dumb thing, it goes everywhere at once. I mean, Sanjay's comments ended up like Indian newspapers where he's from,
Yeah.
like getting slagged for these stupid comments. I mean,
Right.
like you cannot avoid the spotlight. It is now pervasive. And if we said something dumb on this show, like really dumb, it would be put on.
Yeah.
Right.
We would get we're not important, but like you know, it would still be in our little world
Yeah.
shared around, and we would
Yeah.
look dumb and get fired. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the world we live in now. You can't be stupid in public.
Right.
Right.
Watch what you say. Okay, so real quick, we are way over time, but it's been a big year. So if you're still watching, thank you. Trends. What are you
What are we
looking
looking
for?
forward to in 2015?
Personally, net neutrality. We'll have new regulations in February or March, given the current time frame. I want to know what form they take, what legal definitions they're grounded upon, and if Congress loses its shit and tries to defund the FCC. That's, well, not exactly, it's technical, but like the point is, will Congress go to war against this independent agency after it makes its ruling, and can Chairman Mr. Tom Wheeler pull off some decent rules? That's what I'm looking forward to.
Exciting. I think we're going to see a little pin be, you know, piercing this big balloon bubble that we're in. When we talk about the big money that we were talking about earlier, I think that, you know, the Fed might raise interest rates. You know, right now the Dow is at an all-time high. I think that we're going to see some kind of decline there, and that it's definitely going to hit Silicon Valley and startups. And so it's not going to be the kind of froth that we've seen in 2014 is my prediction.
You know, we've been saying for years, though, that winter is coming.
Yep.
I mean, and it hasn't. It just goes back to that, like, you can't call a bubble until it bursts.
Right. And I don't think that we're seeing a bubble in the same way that, you know, in 1999 and 2000 was a bubble. I think that the internet is still going to be a huge thing. I just think that some of these valuations and some of the money that has been pouring into venture capital over the past couple of years, because, you know, institutional investors haven't found anywhere else to put their money to get returns because interest rates have been so low. I think that that's going to change a little bit. So it's not just going to be free money cash flow as it has been.
The business cycle is, in fact, a cycle.
Yes.
And we're about there, and we're about to go to there. So get ready. Our 401ks are fucked, by the way, if you're curious. That's
I'm
it's
looking
going to go
forward to
terribly.
it. That's why it's great not to have any money. So I'm not going to lose
The evil
anything.
of journalism.
Yeah, it's like rising tide, lower tide. I don't know.
VCs are like sweating out. We're like, well, we only had $8 to go.
Right.
We have 7, so, you know.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more stupid apps. Like, have you gotten tired of like all the stupid like single-purpose apps that are out there, like the Yos of the world? Like, I'm looking forward to like what sort of stupid shit people come up with next.
I just miss. So Ryan and I have our desks next to each other at the office, and he used to burst into laughter every 5 minutes. He was reading Secret when Secret mattered, and he would just die. And I want to know the next secret that Ryan will use that'll make my life better. Because it was awesome.
I haven't added anything to my phone's home screen in a while, and like, you know, I upgraded to the iPhone 6 or whatever, and there was like an extra row. And I didn't know what to do with
You're
it.
waiting for the next Kardashian game.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
exactly.
Who is he, Sarah Byrne? Like, come on.
I don't know. It's fun stuff. But thank you for watching, and thank you for spending 2014 with us, and we will see you next year.
Bye-bye.